Hey there, my online friends. Welcome back. I'm Veronica, and I help people simplify their lives and heal from the inside out. And if you've been feeling lonely, or even when you're surrounded by people, you're not crazy, and you're definitely not alone. Today, I want to talk to you about loneliness in a narcissistic world, why it hits so hard, and how to gently cope with it while staying true to yourself. So let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, just taking a brief look at my notes because I don't want to miss anything. So bear with me, and thanks again for being here with me. So, as many of you may know, but those that don't know, I have a background as a life coach, and my methods include garden therapy, which includes red worm composting as a part of my gardening practices. So in this video, I will go ahead and give you some tips on, how to, navigate this time in our world where it seems like the world is just surrounded by narcissists. So, narcissism in our culture today, like I said, it just seems like we're surrounded by. And what it boils down to, these are people that have no empathy for anyone else. It's just about me, me, me. And they're quick to get bored, so they will drop you at the drop of a hat. And it's nothing below them, for them to do to other people, for them to benefit themselves. So dealing with a narcissist, you may try to understand, or you would think that people would have empathy, such as you do, but these type of people don't. It's just all about them. And in today's world, in my opinion, we're dealing with a lot of them. It's just all about what they can acquire, how much more money they can acquire. Doesn't matter who falls, and they will cut anyone just to, reach whichever goals they're trying to reach. And most of the time, it's just greed. It's just, as I mentioned, it's just about me, 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 me. So, dealing with social media, and sometimes we can, see other people, and we, tend to want to compare ourselves, or wish we had what, the next person may have. In my opinion, we just want to avoid that, because a lot of times social media, people put their best foot forward, and you don't always see the struggles. So that's one way that we can try and navigate this, turbulent world that we're dealing with at this time, is, avoid comparing yourself to others. You are where you're meant to be right now, and you will get to where you want and need to be. Just be patient with yourself and keep working towards that. So, I want to move into, people like me, an empath, and how this affects people that are deep fillers and trauma survivors. What we're navigating today in this world, and the different changes. We never know if we're going to wake up to another drastic change, and so on. And knowing how this affects other people with losing their jobs and so on, which will result in, other things rolling downhill. People will, begin to lose, homes, cars, of course this is material, but, how do you navigate this world if you don't have a solid home? Simple things. And for some people to lose their jobs, by an email, or by the end of the week, you're done. And, many of us, we do live paycheck to paycheck. Many people don't have, massive savings. Some may have, a nice stack of savings. Some may have 401ks and so on. But as we know, those things have been affected. So no matter where you are, you know, in your stage of life as far as savings and so on, you just want to do what you can at this point to be able to save whatever you can, even if it's just $1. Um, the more you can save, or $20 out of each paycheck and put it aside. All of this will help you navigate this narcissistic world because, again, my opinion, it's only going to get worse. And that does lead to many people feeling lonely because you don't know who to trust, you don't know who to turn to. So just know that you're not alone. Many of us are trying to navigate this, and be sure to surround yourself with people that you can trust, because you need to be able to, talk about it and acknowledge it. Again, you're not alone. You're not crazy. So, as I, start to get into the impact of a narcissistic environment, many times people will emotionally isolate themselves. They will have trust issues, chronic self-doubt, not thinking I'm good enough, or like I said, comparing yourself to others. That's, some of the side effects of this narcissistic environment that we're living in. So survivors of narcissistic abuse experience a unique kind of loneliness, because if you have already been involved with a narcissistic relationship, whether that's at work, whether that's romantic or whatever, your trust was broken. Someone, did everything they could to break you down, to the very last compound. But thank God you're still here. But that does hit us differently when we're navigating what we're navigating as a world today. So some of the things that are common signs of people that have experienced narcissistic abuse and navigating today's world is people pleasing. You're trying to make everyone happy, trying to make sure everyone else is good, shrinking yourself, not making sure you're good first, or second guessing your worth. So those obviously are things that you want to work on. Nothing we can just get over overnight, especially if you are in a narcissistic relationship that lasted a long time, that, is engraved in you. It has become part of your DNA. But again, you are here, you made it through, and you will continue to make it through if you keep looking forward and, remind yourself of your worth. And you can do that, through affirmations daily. So coping with loneliness now, first of all, recognize it, name it. Again, you're not broken, you're healing. So acknowledge that and let that sit with you for a moment. Remember to set and, make sure you maintain boundaries. Protect your peace from toxic energy. So you set the boundaries. If you have people that don't want to respect that, you may need to separate yourself from those people. Find safe spaces. Even online, you can find support groups that can be healing. So look for those safe places. There could be in-person support groups and so on. Create soothing rituals. For me, gardening is my therapy. So gardening, journaling, stillness, just sit still. Don't dwell on what's going on, but just, take some time and just sit still. Focus on your breathing. And I like to focus on what I'm grateful for. And I usually find way more things I'm grateful for than what I'm upset or unhappy about. Composing yourself and grounding. So that is, another part of stillness, composure and grounding yourself. You also want to continue to build healthy connections. slowly, intentionally, and with people who get it. That's, what's important. So just take your time, as you move forward, take your time, because when you're, meeting new people or even people you've known, if you give people time long enough, you will truly find out, where their heart is, because people will talk and their actions will speak louder than the words. So just be mindful of that. Another bonus tip, that I have, reconnect with simplicity. Simple things. Simple things, in my opinion, are the greatest things in life. Talk about, or think about, and talk about, how living simply helps you hear yourself again. When you're not focused on so many material things and stuff, we as Americans, we've been taught to be consumers. Oh, I gotta have the big house, I gotta have the big car, I gotta have, or 5 cars in the driveway. If you look at other nations, that's not priority. And those people focus a lot on living easy, easier lives, simplistic lives, and happier, less stressed out, not having to, worry about how you're going to pay, for all these big things and, multiple cars and, designer clothing and so on. I always like to, think of, when I'm purchasing things or acquiring things, do I need it or do I want it? Some things, yeah, I will indulge and get things I want, but, avoid, putting yourself in deeper and deeper debt where you're a slave to your debt. That's, something you truly want to avoid, especially in a time where people's jobs and livelihoods are being cut like you would cut open an envelope. So minimize your expenses, minimize your purchases. Ask yourself, do you need it or do you want it? As I mentioned, I am a life coach. I do provide notary services here in the state of Nevada. And I also participate in garden therapy and encourage others to participate in garden therapy. And, that includes, red worm composting, because that's a way, to support people in realigning with peace and purpose. And my methods are, deeply rooted in recycle, repurpose, reuse, and redeem. As I mentioned, before I purchase anything, it's do I need it or do I want it? Or when I'm purchasing something, the first thing I'm thinking of, how can I reuse it? I try to avoid things, some things we can't, but, different things that you, purchase, keep in mind, hey, how can I reuse that? I was looking around for a candle that I just recently made, and the reason why I chose the jar was because I was like, oh, when I'm done with that, I can use that as a sugar jar or something of that sort. Anyways, I'm kind of digressing, but that's, an example of what, recycle, reuse, repurpose, and redeem. That's, like I said, what my methods are deeply rooted in. And, you want to ask yourself, what does simple living look like for you? And don't worry about, as they say, keeping up with the Joneses. Don't worry about what people say, because those people aren't paying your bills. If you can live a simpler life, have more money in your pocket, and I'm not saying more credit card debt, more actual disposable cash, that means that you can do more things and pay for it in cash and not be paying interest, making someone else, some other corporation rich. Again, do I need it or do I just want it? And again, it's okay to treat yourself and, get some of the things you want. I'm not saying deprive yourselves. So on that note, I do want to invite you to comment on your experiences. What are some of the things you've experienced? Have you experienced narcissistic abuse? How are you dealing with today's world of all these instant changes and the different devastation of people's lives, you know, being sent off to other countries, imprisoned, and no due process. How are you navigating, you know, life right about now? How does this affect you? And what are some of the tips that you may have for others, or how you are, you know, navigating this turbulent life that we're living right now? And more importantly, please, if this video resonates with you, please like, share, and subscribe. I truly appreciate it. It does help the channel, and you are helping others. So if you know someone that this might resonate with or might help, please go ahead and share this with them. One of the ways to get in contact with me is through email. And if you do send me an email, I do have a tips guide on how to live a simpler life. So you just email and put in the subject line, free guide, and you will see, once you receive your, it's an auto response that you will receive. Go ahead and click on that. You'll see the link when you get the auto response, and you'll have access to the free tips on how to live a more simplistic life. I also, you know, have a blog. You're also welcome to, you know, check me out there. That's healthylifecoach702.com. And, you know, for those of you that may be interested in coaching, I'm available for that also. So again, I want to thank you for being a part of my healing community. And speaking of community, it is so important that we build community and be a part of community. So again, thank you for spending, you know, this time with me. And again, if this video resonated with you, please give it a like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear these words today. You don't have to go through the healing journey alone. Please know that. You know, if you need to shoot me an email just to, you know, vent, I am available. You know, whether, you know, just you need to vent, or if you're interested in life coaching, you know, please shoot me an email. Or if you're just, you know, wanting to create a simpler life, I am available. And like I said, you can get that free tips guide when you send the email, and the email will go to lifebeyondtrauma411@gmail.com. Again, that's lifebeyondtrauma411@gmail.com. And on that note, let's get your act together, and I'll see you in the next video. Again, I'm Veronica, the Healthy Life Coach. Thank you again for spending this time with me, and I'll catch you in the next video. Be blessed.